I'm Drew, and I'm an amateur model builder. I'm building a layout in my basement called the White River Line, inspired by the Frisco Railroad in the Ozarks. I've gotten some good modeling and planning done over the last several months, but now I'm anxious to get started on actually building my layout. Now, I've been holding off on this for a few reasons. First of all, I've been pretty busy with the modeling that I've been doing for the Down and Dirty Weathering contest. And that, along with my busy summer plans, has really kind of kept me occupied. Second, I've been trying to finalize my track plan. I need to get this finalized before I can start planning the benchwork and then actually building the benchwork. Finally, as you may be aware, the prices of lumber have skyrocketed in the last few months, and I've been trying to figure out how to keep this into my budget. Well, now the time is right, and so it's time to start building some of the benchwork. I know that in my last planning video that I said I was pretty much set on my track plan and the benchwork needed for it. But the more I messed with it, the less I liked it. I wasn't really happy with these big wings. Big loops of tracks aren't very prototypical, and while I could do some things to disguise them, in the end, I wanted something more realistic. A track plan in most cases is an exercise in compromise, and I wasn't happy with the compromises I was making. I just couldn't get it to the point that I was happy with it. The bookcases I have in the area I've got for my layout is a big obstacle. I decided to eliminate this obstacle and allowed myself to play with the idea of removing the bookcase. I went back to the drawing board and started with a new plan that includes demoing the bookcase. This allowed me to have two relatively long 10-foot sections to put in some good trackage. So let me review what I've done here. On the left, here where I've taken out the bookshelf, I'm placing my rail yard. This siding will serve also as a switching lead, and I've got some space for a small engine facility. I could also maybe add another stub for a rip track. The top of my layout will be the downtown area. I'll have a bit of space for a team track or maybe a small industry. The right side will be my rural side. I will have a passing siding and a spur to simulate the road's connection to the outside world. The peninsula here in the middle is my industrial area, and I'll have at least a couple of industries here. I've come back to the idea of having a removable section of track to keep a continuous running layout, and I'm planning on having this swing up on hinges rather than lift out. My aisles are only 24 inches wide. Pretty narrow. But I'm a small guy and I'd rather have the layout space. And I don't really plan to run this with two operators, so space for just me is sufficient. With this final-ish track plan, I'm ready to move on to planning and building the support for this layout, the benchwork. There are a lot of different options for the benchwork, but I'm going with L-Girder construction. It is lightweight and strong. An L-Girder is basically just a 1x2 flange glued and screwed to another 1x. I'll be using 1x3s and 1x4s. Prior to the actual build, I messed around a bit in SketchUp. I won't pull any actual dimensions from the SketchUp drawings. I mainly use it to play around with different construction ideas virtually. In addition to having a sturdy and level platform for my railroad, I want to design benchwork that I can move out of the house when the time comes. To this end, some portions of the benchwork are overbuilt, but when it comes time to move this layout, it will make this process easier. The top of the layout will be 2-inch insulated foam. It is lightweight and rigid. It is a very popular base for model railroaders and diorama builders. Getting to work on the construction, my first task was to clear off the bookshelf and get it demoed. It came apart pretty easily, and I took some time to remove some nails and prep the materials for later. Not only will this give me more space for the layout, but I can repurpose these materials for the construction of my L-Girders. As I mentioned before, the price of lumber has skyrocketed in the last couple of years. In an effort to build this economically as possible, I gathered up a bit of scrap and other lumber I had lying around. Some of this material will work well. Other pieces aren't really salvageable. The legs and wall brackets will be made of 2x2s. I don't have many 2x2s, so I ripped down several 2x4s I had bought for another project, but then abandoned. Cutting the pieces to size, I began constructing the wall bracket. Well, I did my math wrong here and cut these pieces too long, so I had to cut new ones. I'll use these pieces that are too long elsewhere. In most cases, I pre-drilled my pilot holes to streamline the construction process. I had to notch out a bit here to fit around the return air for my HVAC system. I kind of made a mess of it, but it won't be seen. The diagonal braces are attached using gussets made of 1/4 inch luan. More scrap material left over from an abandoned project from my homebrewing days. I really tried to do as little actual measuring as possible. I could probably do some simple geometry to figure out the length and angles of these pieces, but in the end, if my math is wrong, I've wasted lumber with my mistake. I'd rather just mark and cut as I build. I was able to reuse the pieces I'd previously cut too long for the diagonals for these brackets. I let the wood glue dry overnight and then cut off the excess from the diagonal braces. I assembled the L-girders on the bracket. I marked the bracket where the girder would be screwed in and drilled down from the top to ensure accurate placement of the pilot bolt. I also marked the placement of the edge of the girder to ensure it would be properly positioned. I did not use glue here for attaching the L-girders to the brackets. If, or more likely when, I need to move this layout, I want to be able to remove these girders from the brackets easily. I glued and screwed a 1x2 flange to the top to complete the L. Then I added the second L-girder using the same techniques. You may have noticed that I'm using 1x4s for these girders. I couldn't find 10-foot 1x3s, and it didn't make sense to go through the extra work of ripping them to 1x3. I wouldn't have been able to use the remainder of the lumber anyway. Well, I've gotten a good start here. These L-girders ought to be plenty strong and stable enough for my layout. I still have plenty more work to do. I've got to build the L-girders for the other section over there. I've got to build the tables for the remaining sections. And I've got a whole lot of joists to rip down. As always, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, and those links are down below. In my last video, I had one of my subscribers comment that they really hope I get some more subscribers and that my work deserves a bigger following than what I've got. Well, I'm certainly flattered by this, and if you feel the way that he does, leave a like on this video. That's the best way that you can help me promote my videos. So, in the next video, I'll continue working on the bench work for this layout. Hopefully I can get it all finished up. So please join me next time as I continue building the White River line.